So, what was your question, Christopher?
So my question today is about the chambers and the way the Book of the Dead is structured as a series of chambers. I wanted to ask you, what is a chamber? What are the rules of the chamber? How do you go from one chamber to the other? And then what is the general sequence? Because it's in those units. I find that intriguing.
Yeah, that's a very good question. The chambers are basically, now in the Tibetan Book of the Dead, they do not describe them as chambers. They describe them as spaces where we're encountering these Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, which are humans, but at the same time transhuman. There's something otherworldly about them. Almost always they're radiating forms of light. Now, in the American Book of the Dead, how it describes it is that you might find yourself in some place that's very familiar to you, and yet something feels off. You don't know what, but there's something that just doesn't feel right. It might be the color or the texture, but something feels wrong. And then suddenly somebody's there, and they're familiar, but they're also not familiar. And it might be like you look at them and that say they're your sister, and then you look away, and then you look back and they're your mother. So they're changing. There's a very fluid presence. And they might even be somebody who was already transitioned, somebody who is dead. And you suddenly will realize, oh, you're dead. Then you'll realize I'm dead. And at that point, the normalcy starts to shift and everything breaks into light. And the person who was appearing a moment ago as your sister or your mother, now suddenly the light is almost coming from them. And our primate tendency is to pull away, to want to just get away from this. It's the light is radiant, and radiance is not just physically bright. Radiance is a feeling. In the body, how you'd feel radiance is in a highly uncomfortable social situation or a highly uncomfortable just situation in your life. You can feel radiance. It's this tangible quality of, oh my gosh, I just want to be anywhere but here. And that's like a macro dimensional flag. In the macro dimensions, because you're already dead, when you recognize the radiance, there's one of three things that is going to happen. You will either recognize the radiance as your mind, and you will realize, I'm dead. This is all my mind. And what the Book of the Dead says is you will become a Buddha at that point. You will attain awakening. You will either have that response, or you will feel intense fear and wanting to pull away. That pulling away will then be met with a soft, comforting, dim light. And that light is very inviting. Everything about the light is comforting, and as opposed to what this space is, the chamber, you just want to get away. And that light is like, oh my gosh, and so we gravitate towards it. And that light is the doorway to a dimension. Either humans, animals, ghosts, gods, or jealous gods. And all these different beings, that's a whole talk in itself. We could probably do one talk for each one of the dimensions. We experience these dimensions in the body as emotions. So basically what the dimensions are is crystallized states of these emotional extremes. And the human dimension is a mix of the other 5 dimensions. So that's why the human dimension is so important, is because we have a lot of evolutionary potential. In the other 5 dimensions that are surrounding us on this planet, in Book of the Dead terms, they're very geared towards a certain vibration. And you could be in that vibration for hundreds or even thousands of lifetimes, because time is moving differently. Once you get into the animal realm, You could stay there for 500 animal lifetimes. So it's very important to understand that the chamber spaces are a very fluid space until we move in one direction or the other. If we move toward the bright light, everything stops and you attain awakening. So then that is a state of liberation. The third response that you could have is a blackout state, where you can't incorporate the radiance and you're not drawn towards the dim light because you don't have a vibrational karma to go to that dimension. You will black out and wake up in another chamber, which will be another one of the 7 lights. And then after they appear one at a time, they appear all at once. So the bardo becomes increasingly more intense. Most people will leave the macro dimensions in the first 6 days. Their karma, they will respond as a resonant frequency to one of those dimensions and move into it. So most beings will never go into the higher spaces where the guides get it more intense. And your evolutionary potential might be more, you might have a opportunity to evolve higher in those deeper frequencies of the labyrinth. But that's a mystery, as is everything. What's not, right?
Yep.
Yeah, from the edges of mystery. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to like us and subscribe. Hit the bell icon to be notified for when we post new videos. We really would encourage you to ask any questions that you have. We would love to answer them and address them in any way possible. And we will talk to you soon. And remember, stay focused on the question.